Hey Walter, what's going on? I'm actually re-recording this video because the first one that I did was a reaction video and it was almost an hour long, and I would much rather keep these shorter for you as we go forward. That way you don't have to take too much time out of your day to watch these and hear some of my feedback. Again, thank you so much for listening to my feedback. It really means a lot to me that you take time out of your busy day to listen to my thoughts of a rambling idiot like me. So let's get right into the meat of it, and I've got the video pulled up again, and I'm going to try my best to remember to pull up the scenes as I'm talking about them. So why don't we just go ahead and get right into it. Let's talk about the opening scene. I still love that theme song so much. And I love the chemistry between Riley and MJ. The two actors you've got, I don't know if they're actually dating in real life. I wouldn't be surprised if they were, but they do have a great chemistry. And I love the little pet name she gives him, Loser. And like, it just doesn't bother him. And I love that. The guy who plays Ben he's got some really good timing. And you can really see that he's really come into his character of Ben. And I want to talk more about that a little bit later on. Let's see here. The dining room scene with Linda, my favorite side character. Honestly, I feel like you need to include her in a lot more. She's really good. She's got great reaction, great facial expressions. She's just one of my favorite people to listen, and the comedy between her and Ben here is just really good. All the stuff that Ben does in front of the customer, like he's berating her for not being a good example in front of the customers, and here he is being the example of a terrible boss in front of the customer. Good Yelp reviews! And he's got a bad Yelp review from this girl. This right here was one of the funnier bits in this scene, as it was a very subtle, unintentional threat between Eddie to Ben. And it's almost like, hey, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And he's dressed almost like Ben, but like a negative version of Ben. Like, you know, you have like the photo negative, like he's the photo negative of Ben right now, and I love that. Good choice in costuming, good choice in color palette, good contrast all in all. So let's skip a little bit ahead here. And let's talk about the scene coming up here. One of the things was the car scene. And I just want to talk about how this is a really good... Turn it down a little bit. This is a great tracking shot. It keeps it close, it keeps it personal, it keeps it uncomfortable. So that, it's just such a good cut. You did a great cut there. With them getting into the car, and then these guys getting out of the car. That was good there. And you did kind of the same thing twice, and that's good. I have a little note about that little end part right here. Instead of showing them drive off, maybe not show them drive off, and instead when you got these guys here, because then they're walking forward again. You see where they've got them walking to the outside of the screen? You linger a little too much here on MJ. Like, that's some epic music for her to just be cleaning a table. And it's not a good enough payoff for the tone that you set with the music and with the two mafia goons coming in. A really good idea to have done right there would have instead to have been them walking out of the shot, or maybe into the camera like you did when they got out of the car for the first time, and they walk out and it pans and they're like, right, boom here, and then all of a sudden it's on Ben again. Instead of being on Ben, have them walk into the camera, and then have them walk out of the camera and frame it on both sides, and have MJ trapped in the middle. That would have been good, because that gives the audience an idea of, we know what's going to happen, and we see this happen, but it really frames in MJ like she can't escape. She could probably easily get around them, but with them both being there on the side, that really gives a sense of enormity. That's not the right word I want to use. Sometimes I don't use the right words. but it really it would strengthen the scene a lot more and make it that much more critical about what's happening. As it stands, like, I kind of figured maybe they were going in after MJ, and that would be very blatant. And I think probably what you were trying to go for was a little bit more subtle, and you do capture it, but I just think you could have done more with that. Let's see here. Thanksgiving with Mr. Stacks. Let's set that scene up. So right here, I think this honestly is your weakest scene. This one right here. And the problem is there's a great sense of tone in the scene, and there's some good awkward comedy that kind of breaks it up. However, the shots on Ben, they could have been done a little bit differently to get the same effect, and you could have had less runtime with it too. Let's kind of watch the scene real quick.
You know what? I left my keys in the car.
So right here,
I'll be right there.
He walks away and goes to the car. And then Eddie walks forward. Have Riley walk forward, because, you know, Riley's like, what is going on here? And he has this confused look, but he can still have that confused look and walk forward like, maybe I should go with Eddie. But right here, he cuts back to him, cuts back to Eddie, and then, you know, you cut back to Riley, and you cut back to Ben again.
Eddie, wait!
And he goes, Eddie, wait, you know. You could still have that, but instead of, like, going back and forth like that, because it's a little too much back and forth, you could do them walking up together, Ben walking up, like, you've got this kind of shot where Ben walks forward, and you've got them over the shoulder of Ben, kind of a little out of focus, and he just kind of stops, and he's like, and you see the struggle on his face, you see the conflict as he turns around, and then you can do that other shot of him going, Eddie, wait! And as Eddie's putting his hand on the gate, it's too late. He's already had his hand on the gate, he's opening it, and there stands the phone man, the voice of Mr. Stack. So I think that you could have done that with a little bit, it could have been a little quicker for you, and it would have made the tone of what you're going for here have more brevity. Not brevity, gravity is what I'm trying to say. It would have helped give it more gravitas. So that would have been good. Mr. Stack is not scary. He is not threatening. But what you've got here in the scene, great mood lighting. You've got great ambiance. It's dark. It's smoky. It's very warm but threatening. You know, you're using these warm lights, and it's very threatening. And that creates a really good tone for your scene. So you've got a good setup. You've got a good scene. But the overall character of Mr. Stacks, he just was not, for me, threatening. I'm like, flip his table and tackle him. So yeah, I probably would have chosen a different table. But that's, again, that's a very nitpicky thing. So take that with an extremely big grain of salt. So yeah. But the strength of this scene, see if I can get to a shot of him. This guy.
I love De Niro.
I love De Niro. I love him. He is the great foil to his nephew, Mr. Stacks. I love it. I kind of feel like maybe even the roles were reversed in this particular outing with them. But all in all, I'd have to say that he saves the scene. Because here's this guy trying to be like De Niro, Pacino, you know, all the gangsters, and you sit there and you think to yourself, this old man is probably sitting there and he thinks he's still playing with his nephews. Like, I remember showing him all these gangster movies when he was a kid. He used to love sitting with them on Friday nights while his parents were out, and I'd show him a Pacino movie, I'd show him Goodfellas. Like, oh, this is fun. I love this guy. He's great. So he really does save the scene. And that's not to say the scene's terrible. It's just that Mr. Stacks himself is not scary. That uncle, though. Oh my gosh. So this scene here, let's see, what did I want to say? Ben's plea. It's very well filmed. Good use of angles. It really helps weaken Ben's character and strengthen Eddie's, and shows the change in dynamic between their relationship versus what they had in the first episode. And it's almost kind of a parallel to that first scene when he's sitting on the couch and he's looking at Eddie and he's asking Eddie, no, come back into my life. Here he's begging Eddie, please stay in my life. And that's good. You do really well here. You've got some great shots. But not so strong as what comes next. And I loved this scene, what I call Ben's Exodus. And I specifically want to talk about this right here. Great music. I love the music that you chose. That's sad. But I think I know what you're referencing here with this shot, and I like it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but are you referencing Spider-Man No More? When Peter Parker decides to throw the costume into the trash can, he goes, "I'm Spider-Man no more." And Ben walks out of Eddie's life. He goes, I'm Eddie's brother no more." I don't know if you're referencing that or not. I want to say you are. That's a good reference, and that's a good scene, and you do a great job there when you focus in on the picture of them as children. Let's see here. So nothing really to say about this. It's a pretty decent scene. Again, I love the uncle. But all in all, out of the entire episode, this right here is your weakest scene. And it's the last, what I call the Last Supper scene. And the problem that I have with this scene is what you've got here, you've got a good setup, and this is good where they're sitting here talking, they're having an intimate moment, like what do we do? It seems like things are at their bleakest, and you ought to have the big turnaround. And then these two guys walk in. They suck all the focus out of your scene. And it's not that they're bad actors. It's not that this is a bad joke. It's just it doesn't fit with what you've got going on here. And it's not their fault. It's really not your fault. It's the scenery's fault. This doesn't fit what you need to do. I understand why they're there. They exist to set up the next scene. They exist because in the next scene, you need to have them doing the Batman voice and making reference to the Christopher Nolan movies. And that's fine. Consider instead, and there goes my computer taking off again, consider instead of setting this scene, if you have a chance to refilm it, I would probably do that. Consider setting the scene in the comic shop where Eddie first has a very similar scene like this before, with the two guys talking about the Batman films. Have him go back to the comic book shop, like maybe he's filling out a form trying to get his job back, like I really want to get my job back. And you hear these two guys off to the side and they're talking, and then Riley chases up after him, comes in and goes, "I thought I'd find you here, Eddie." And he's like, "What are you doing here, Riley?" And we got to get MJ back. We got to think of something. You got to help me. You're the only one I can turn to in this case. He goes, "Look, we can't beat Stacks. He's got too many men. He's got too many guns. What are you going to do? We're just going to bust up in there like Batman and fix this situation?" And he's just too powerful. He's like, "But we got to think of something." And that's when the other two guys like, "Hey, we heard you guys talking about Batman. What did you think about this? Blah, 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 the voice or whatnot." And then they kind of get into this argument, and then they both stop, and they're like, and then they get their idea. See, that fits. That fits. And you don't have to do that. And I'm definitely saying, I understand budgetary and time restraints. You probably would not be able to do that. But if you are ever thinking about reshooting a scene, this is the one I would reshoot, because it's just the weakest out of the whole episode, out of any of your shows so far. And please don't be offended, but I'm just giving my honest opinion at that point. And I just think it would work better if you just changed locales. So the locale didn't fit. Your scene is good, but your locale doesn't fit. So that would give you a better build-up, an intro, and an outro to it. So, yeah, that's really my only scene. It's the weakest one. Okay, the kidnapping and interrogation scene. Let's talk about that one next. You have some amazing slapstick in this scene, Walter. You're good at it. You're great at directing it, and I would love whatever project you do next. I would love for you to do a comedy where there's a lot of slapstick, like almost Three Stooges type homage movie, or an Abbott and Costello movie where there's a lot of loud comedy and there's slapstick and maybe even a sound effect or two. Good Lord, man, how hilarious that would be, and how good you would be at it. Please consider doing something like that in the future, because you're great at it. Oh, this guy though, but this thug here, love this thug. Watch this. Oh, and the guy who plays Riley, he's good at it too. You guys work really well off each other. Like, it's a good kind of straight man foil type deal. But this goon, he is losing it. He is losing it right here. Look at that face. He is trying so hard not to crack up, and that's funny. Like, his shirt's coming undone. You guys are like all in the back, like all over each other. Can't get in the car. It's believable. It's good action. It's could you even get that car door closed? Oh yeah, you did. You did. It's just the quality of the video, and it's not your fault. It's my computer's. This is a good scene. It's funny. You've got great.
She's in the corner of Ruth and 150th Way.
You work off each other really well in it. Let's see here. So yeah, just basically do more slapstick, dude. You're great at it. Keep doing that. There's nothing else to say here except that I want to talk about this one panning shot you've got. I love this panning shot. Again, this idea of keeping it close and intimate and important. It's a good pan. It really is. It's a really good panning shot. And Riley's reaction there. He's got good physical comedy, got great facial reactions. He's a good actor, and you cast him really well. The guy who plays him is really good in this part. That's funny. And let's talk about, because this is the only other thing I wanted to say. I just wanted to praise you on this twist ending. Peter Peters and Ogana Stacks. Now, obviously, the guy who plays Mr. Stacks is a little young, so I'm guessing this isn't his daughter. They're probably a sister or a cousin or an aunt, maybe even. What would be hilarious is if Ogana Stacks is actually the daughter of the cougar that was going after Riley. That would be funny. That would be a good kind of twist there as well. So a twist within a twist. What a twist! I wonder how many people are making that joke. But yeah, this is good. All in all, I'd say that out of the episodes that you've done so far, this one's probably your weakest, but it has the most story. I still think your last episode, your Christmas episode with Krampus, is your strongest. But you have some good moments in here. Just some of the suggestions I made. Keep those in mind going forward. Really think about locale and scene and things of that nature. The guy's just walking in and just hijacking that scene. It really ruined what you were trying to convey. And like I said, it wasn't necessarily them, because it didn't make sense for them to walk into the house and then just leave again. Let's go over to Eddie's house. If you want to call him Walter, let's go over to Eddie's house. Let's talk about this there. Let's talk about the Nolan voice there. Okay, we've talked about the Nolan voice. Let's leave. That would make sense at a comic book shop where their attention could very easily be distracted as they like say, "Oh, let's go over here to this book," and I'll talk about how he obviously isn't using a voice here. He's making a reference to it there. And then that would give you guys the break you need from them. And I know I'm talking about that scene a lot, and I do apologize, but I really feel like that really weakened your episode. That scene there really weakened it. And just Mr. Stacks not being very threatening. I don't know what the next episode is going to be like, so maybe the ante is upped by that point. But I really, I did enjoy the episode. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed watching it. I love watching your work. I love seeing you grow as a director and an actor and a creator. So I want you to keep doing it, and definitely want to see you get better at it, man. So let me know if there's anything else that I can do, and we'll go from there, bud. So, well, I can't wait for the next episode. Can't wait for the conclusion. And we'll see you on the next one. All right? Peace.